For this one, we're using a 1 mil round wire in a 1 mil round hole. So just put these in, center them, hold this sideways in your third hand, and we'll put our solder just on the back. Yeah? So if the solder just on the back, you heat it from the back, and if you do a good job, the solder will flow quite nicely to the other side. You'll have a nice smooth meniscus and no cleanup, and that's what we want. Okay, we're ready to solder. Make sure all of your claws are centered. Flex, place the solder on the back. When you start to solder, if you look in your flux and there's no liquid on top, you need to add water. Be sure you add distilled water. Tap water has iron in it, and that'll make a really ugly mark on your piece. If you pick this up, it has liquid in the top and the liquid is clear. Be sure you stir it up because the liquid is just water, and you actually need to have a slightly milky bit. Otherwise, it's just water and it doesn't act as flux. So I'm flexing this on the back and the front. And the reason you're doing it on both sides is so the solder flows a little bit better. The flux just keeps the metal clean. Now, I'm going to pick solder, which means I'm going to put my solder on the charcoal block, melt it onto my solder pick, and then place it where I want it, one bit at a time. You can place the solder on these and then heat it up that way, but pick soldering is just so much quicker. Light your torch. Same neutral flame we always use, about 100 mil long with gas. Oxygen until you have all of the yellow out. In this case, heat the whole piece. When you're pick soldering, you don't have to worry about heating it slowly because the solder is not going to jump off. And what we want to do is just dry out the flux on the whole piece. Place your pick on the opposite side of the solder. Bring the heat up so the pick is red. Lower it, touch your solder, and it'll jump right on the pick. Then you're going to heat the piece. The flux will go clear. Place your solder. And the solder should flow. What you don't want to do is heat the wire, or the wire will just melt. So you're actually heating the base or the picture frame or whatever we want to call it. Yeah. Now really watch your flame because it's very easy to melt these claws. So all the way around, solder them all, and then pickled it. So once your soldering's done, then look at the opposite side and you should see a nice smooth meniscus on the other side. Now this is going to be the side we display. This is the side we don't want any cleanup on with the solder. So this is good. Quench it in water, pickle it. Take the piece out of the pickle, check for fit, if it's good, if your claws are in the right position. Put this on your charcoal block. Ball the claws using your standard flame. A little bit of flex on the end of each one will make the ball nice and smooth. And then turn it over with your tweezers and do the other side. Now, oftentimes I'm using a number 7 tip, so I have quite a large flame. And we want a nice hot flame. Put the point the little blue point right on the end of the wire. Keep it on the wire. And oftentimes I'll brace my hand against the bench peg. So just a little bit of a ball on each one. I did change the angle, it seems to work better. So when you can, make sure the flame goes to the outside so that you don't melt anything. Yeah, now flip it over and do the other side. Pickle it, polish it, and you're done. Now, you're ready to make a bail, and you can either use a pinch bail where you solder the peg on one side and then you squeeze it around, peg goes through the hole, or you can do a riveted bail. I would do it before I set the stone. If you're using brass like this, what you can do to get this pink flashing off is to mix peroxide and pickle 50-50. It will take the flashing off, it'll give it a slightly dull finish, but don't leave it in very long. Keep an eye on it because it's really aggressive. Now, at this point, once you get your bail, set your stone. And you can use pliers to bend these over. I wouldn't, because the pliers will put marks in the wire. I don't want any marks in the wire. I personally just use a bezel rocker. So you put the stone in and you push the rocker this way so that it pushes it over against the stone. If you have a tumbler, I would probably tumble this before I set the stone, just to harden up the prongs a little bit. If you don't worry, because these are strong enough to hold the stone. Finished.